I'm pretty sure at some point anybody watching this has experienced an infestation at least once. They're very unsettling, as a creature that's unwelcome entering your home can be very scary. So today we're going to be covering infestations on the Infestations Iceberg. And in this video, I'm going to tell you some causes and calling signs of infestations, and some ways of how to deal with them. A lot of it just boils down to call an exterminator, poison the hell out of them. So a lot of ways to deal with it I don't think are too necessary to go over. However, if this gets you to clean your room, if you need to do that, hey, it's there. That's what it's here for. So without further ado, let's get into the iceberg. And starting off our iceberg, we have cockroaches. Cockroaches are well known for their survival, making them super difficult to get rid of. Roaches can last up to a month without food, meaning you just have to mess up once and they get a meal to tide them over until rent is due. Combined with their darting speeds of 3.4 miles per hour from a standing start, the equivalent of a human running 210 miles, and their high survival rate of 80% of roach eggs hatching despite cannibalism from other roaches. Exterminators typically categorize infestations on a scale of light, 5 or less roaches, moderate, 10 to 15, or heavy, 25 or more infestations. However, it's near impossible to gauge how many cockroaches are living in your house at any time. Cockroach infestations are caused by dirty and cluttered environments and food trash lying around, and signs of infestations can include weird smells, droppings, eggs, smears, other insects, and multiple cockroach sightings. But it should be kind of pressed here that just one or two could mean that they just wandered in, so relocate or kill them and you should be done with them. And of course, termites are pretty harmless to humans directly. However, termite infestations could spell doom for the entirety of your house. Termites love eating wood, and people love building houses out of wood. So, termites just love taking a bite out of your home, which is why they're one of the most common infestations. Termites are a pest and gets more expensive to deal with the longer they are undetected. Formosan termite, subterranean termite, eats your house from the ground up and can destroy your home structure in as little as a year. Termite infestations often resembles or sometimes happen in result of water damage, as termites love damp, wooded environments. Infestations can be caused by damp conditions, like stated before, clogged gutters, cracks in the building, and unattended wood piles and mulch close to proximity to the house. Infestations can be identified with damaged or drooping drywall and paint, wood damage including furniture, loose tiles, mud tubes, stuck windows and doors, squeaky floorboards, and the appearance of flying termites, as flying termites are a sign of a mature colony. Mice may seem cute on their own, but when they're an unwelcome guest in your house, they quickly become gross and unsettling. Mice are one of the most common rodents, with their high levels of adaptability and high intelligence allowing them to live just about anywhere. Mice have to be dealt with immediately, as just single mouse almost always leads to an infestation. In fact, a mouse can produce 10 litters of pups in just a year, meaning they can give birth from up to 32 to 56 pups a year. Mice can and will find a way into your home if it exists, as they can fit into holes as small as 1/4 of an inch. Mice will infest your house in search of food and shelter, especially during winter months. However, sometimes mice may only appear for just one of these factors, meaning you don't even have to have a food source there for them to want to crash in your house. Infestations can be identified by sightings of mice dropping near food packages, drawers, under the sink, etc., nesting material, and stale smells coming from obscure areas of the house, and chewing on food packages. Bedbug infestations are considered some of the hardest infestations to deal with just one pregnant female being able to produce up to 500 eggs. Bedbugs are bloodsuckers that bite hosts in their sleep, leading to rashes and lesions on their skin. Unlike the prior entries, bedbug infestations aren't usually caused by poor living conditions or lack of cleaning. Instead, they are typically spread from host to host by moving to a new place, an infected individual bringing them on their clothes while visiting relatives, for example, living near someone infected, which is more of a problem in apartments, and even by animals. Infestations can be identified by blood or fecal stains on your mattress, exoskeletons, eggs, bite marks on your skin, and a musty odor coming from your bed. Flies are some of the most common annoyances one may find from time to time. However, sometimes poor living conditions can cause infestations. Houseflies usually only live for about a month. However, by limiting their activities, they can increase their stay in your home. If that's not bad enough, like bedbugs, a single female can lay up to 500 eggs. And worse than bedbugs, houseflies can carry diseases like dysentery and cause food poisoning. Houseflies can thrive long as they have food to eat from, mainly food trash laying about, to garbage cans, and even, super gross, they may lay eggs in your sink drains, where maggots feast on food stuck in your drains. Fly or two every now and again is pretty common and doesn't mean an infestation. However, if you get lazy and slip up, those single flies can quickly become a swarm. Now, rats are a bit of a step up from mice in terms of infestations, as they have similar but worse calling signs and downsides as mouse infestations, but are also more likely to spread disease and cause damage to your house with a tendency to chew on things like cords. Rats out in the open tend to indicate that an infestation, as this means that they are overcrowding their nesting areas, aka your walls. Rats will also leave dirt marks and grease trails when they travel, so in areas with gnaw marks and dirt or waste, it is best to look out for rat runs. Snap traps are a common way of killing rats. However, sometimes they can outsmart these traps, kind of like that one video with the rat, or maybe a mouse triggering a trap with a pencil. So it's probably best to ensure their demise by poisoning the bait as well. If you want to kill them, it's pretty hard to relocate them, though. Also, I wanted to make note of this. Rats are social creatures, so just one rat can indicate an infestation. Weeds are super common pests to lawns and gardens alike, and makes managing said gardens even more tedious than it needs to be. Weeds compete with other plants and often outperform them, and can also harbor other pests that cause separate infestations. Weeds are extremely robust, with deep perennial roots allowing them to stay in place and resprout, along with seeds that germinate fast, and their speedy growth makes them a nightmare to deal with. Mold is a common infestant that loves growing in moist areas. Mold is extremely common in nature and is not picky on where it settles, as long as there is a moist surface for all spores to settle on. The spores cause allergic reactions and trigger things such as asthma attacks, and can even cause congestive impairments. Even they can mess up your memory, and it's weird because your memory comes back when you get rid of the mold, concentration, and attention span. Signs of mold include visible spots of mold in places where water damage or moisture accumulated. However, mold can grow in many spaces where people cannot see, like inside of your walls, and most of the indicators in this case would just be symptoms. Starting off tier 2 of the iceberg, we have silverfish. Silverfish, also known as bookworms, are small silver insects that live in damp, moist places and are known to eat paper, cardboard, wallpaper, soap, hair, and dust. Some silverfish will even eat foods such as coffee, sugar, and other foods high in carbs. Silverfish infestations can spiral out of control, as females can lay up to 100 eggs in their lifespans. Silverfish scales also cause allergic reactions. Silverfish infestations typically occur when cardboard boxes or containers containing silverfish are placed in storage areas suited for them to spread across the rest of your house. Infestations can be identified by frequent signs of water damage, damage to paper products, along with yellow stains and droppings and scales, and frequent sightings of silverfish. Some will argue that silverfish are worth keeping because they prey on many spiders and insects that may cause problems and will even eat their own dead. As terrifying as the centipede infestation sounds, don't be alarmed. They're not the long centipedes you may be thinking of, unless you live in places like Hawaii or Vietnam, where they are a bit more of a problem. But most centipede infestations are carried out by house centipedes. And although house centipedes don't look that scary, they are signs that you have other problems. House centipedes live in damp, humid environments and will only infest a house that has a stable source of food in the form of prey insects. Many people argue that you should keep them, and a reason not to kill them is that they kill pests that have been previously and soon to be mentioned on the iceberg, including termites, flies, roaches, moths, and even silverfish, and aren't really a threat to humans at all, and they'll barely even bite. However, centipedes are known for getting in bed with humans while they sleep, so I don't think anyone wants that. House centipede infestations are typically caused by clogged gutters, leaky pipes, cardboard boxes, cracks, and holes in foundations. Scary for me to say that a lot, actually. And other infestations. In nature, there are thousands of mites out there, with most of them being completely harmless. However, a select few of them can cause harms to pets and humans alike. Mites travel from host to host. These mites are parasitic and will bite animals and humans, which mostly result in itches, rashes, lesions, and rarely will even spread diseases. One mite, known as scabies mites, will burrow into a host's skin and lay eggs and dig holes into their skin, feasting from the host's flesh. Spiders are typically seen as creepy. However, they won't go out of their way to harm people and are often seen as good things. Spiders prey on other insects that may be pests. However, spiders can also spiral out of control in a very short period of time. A single egg sac can produce thousands of spiders, leading them to spread all throughout your home. Spiders will also spin webs all over your house, and spiders like the black widow spider are dangerous to humans. Spiders are normal to see from time to time. However, as stated prior, populations can skyrocket in no time. Spider infestations are caused by openings that they and other pests may enter from, and will frequent areas not frequented or cleaned by humans. Identifications of infestations include webs, egg sacs, frequent spider sightings, and an abundance of other pests, mostly flies. Wasps are some of the most evil creatures known to man. Hornets are also considered a type of wasp, so I guess you can just lump them in here. Wasps typically seek out sweets and proteins along with water, so it's best not to let food trash or trash bags sit outside for long. Just the occasional wasp is normal, but if there are multiple and frequent sightings around parts of your yard, and God forbid even in your house, they may be setting up a nest nearby. Wasps will set up nests in your sources of food, water, and shelter, so always be vigilant when you're doing your yard work. Identifications of infestations are sightings of multiple wasps, and most obviously a nest. Wasps have a disdain for the scent of peppermint and citrus, so it's best to use scents like that, but also if you're dealing with wasp nests, make sure you destroy the nest, as it is uncommon, but wasps may return to rebuild the nest. The tsetse fly is a fly endemic to Central Africa and is known for spreading diseases. Not only are tsetse flies known for spreading countless diseases and rash-like lesions on bite marks, but they're also known to transmit trypanosomes, single-celled organisms that cause sleeping sickness in humans. And unlike what you might think the disease is named, it actually prevents you from sleeping and is a serious matter, even leading to death if untreated. The flies also greatly affect livestock, and the flies only need shaded areas like trees to rest. Knowing this, insecticides are often used on such areas to prevent tsetse flies from causing more havoc. Ant infestations are the most common infestations, which isn't too surprising as ants are also the most common animals in the world. Unlike many other animals on this iceberg, just seeing a few ants can indicate an infestation, as ants constantly spread using tracks to expand their colonies. Most ants are harmless to people, however, ants cause serious damage to your house and will carve into your floorboards and walls, expanding pre existing holes or creating new ones to get to things such as food or water sources. Even if you clean your home regularly, ants may detect water from leaky pipes and burrow through your house to get it. Infestations are caused more often by cracks in the foundation of the house, but are made even worse due to poor living conditions. Infestations can be identified by frequent ant sightings, damaged wood, sawdust, and dirt trails, and discarded wings. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us have messed up at some point and touched this plant without knowing and paid the price for it. Poison ivy causes rashes and blisters to appear when people come in contact with it. Poison ivy changes its appearance year-round and grows as vines, shrubs, or smaller independent plants, along with multiple look-alike plants, making it very tricky to identify. However, there are some details that makes identification way easier. Poison ivy is identified by leaflets of free, with free glossy leaf and a stem from a longer stalk, with the central leaflets at the end being usually the larger ones. There's a lot of sayings like leaflets of free, let it be. In the summer, the plants will bloom green flowers that will bear fruit in the fall, and around this time, the leaves will begin to turn a bright reddish color. In the winter, the plant appears as a vine with reddish hairs. If you find poison ivy in your yard, it must be handled with caution as not to come in contact with your bare skin. Despite it being harmful to people, it should be left alone in nature as it actually helps out the environment. For example, migrating birds eat the berries of the plant. Moving down to tier 3 of the iceberg, starting us off with bees. Even though bees are good for the environment, they may make your environment a living hell. To deal with overcrowding, half of the given bees in a hive will set out to create a second colony and may pick your backyard, shed, or God forbid your house as a place where they set up camp. Seeing a swarm for about a day or two isn't an indication of a problem. However, if they stay there for much longer, it'd be best to contact a professional, as unlike wasps, bee colonies are much larger and far more organized, making them near impossible for someone without proper equipment to deal with. Also, bees remember faces. Yeah, bees are attracted to pollen and other sweet scents, so if you have a large garden with sturdy trees for them to set up hives, they may choose your yard as a place to set up their next colony. As there are many different types of beetles, beetle infestations might occur for different reasons. Some beetles may come for food, such as plants, wood, rugs, or smaller insects, while some may come for waters, and others simply may be looking for shelter, and of course a combination of all the factors. Beetles might even be attracted to lights in your yard. Identifications of infestations include wood damage, rugs, and fur products, shed skins, and dead beetles in abundance in places like your windowsills. Slugs may just seem gross, but they can become a huge problem for gardeners, with even the most eco-friendly gardeners recommending slugs be disposed of immediately. Despite being known for being slow, slugs and snails alike can destroy crops in no time. Slugs love to live in dark, moist areas near a source of vegetation, and sometimes will enter your house, especially in bathrooms or areas that are moist due to faulty piping. Infestations are caused by excessive shade or objects left lying around in your yard, and lots of unmanaged vegetation that create ideal slug hotspots, and in cases of home infestations, cracks that they appear in, and faulty piping. Identifications of infestations include partially consumed vegetation or crops, trails of slime, droppings, and sightings of slugs or snails. Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of us have had a fruit fly problem at some point. Fruit flies in nature are mostly active in the summer. However, indoor heating allows for fruit flies to be active year-round so long as they have a food source. Despite only living for about a month, fruit flies can reproduce rapidly, only needing to wait about a day to lay more eggs. Fruit flies, as their name suggests, are attracted to ripening fruit or rotting fruits to lay their eggs on. However, they may not even need to find food out in the open to lay eggs on, as decaying matter simply does enough. Infestations are usually caused by food, mainly fruits, not being consumed in a timely manner, unclean drains and cleaning utensils, and trash bags not being taken out in a timely manner. Black mold is probably one of the more well-known about molds and is extremely dangerous to people living in houses infected by it. Black mold can cause coughing, sneezing, congestion, itchy eyes, and in rare cases, even death, and is especially dangerous to people who have asthma. Black mold often appears in circular, fuzzy blotches with black, dark green, dark brown, and occasionally will have orange hues with specks of white. Black mold is caused the same way any other mold is typically caused, via water damage or excess moisture in an area, allowing for spores to land and grow. Ticks are the bane of the outdoorsman. Well, if said outdoorsman wears shorts and socks that are often very short, that is. Ticks are small parasites that feed off of the blood of animals, including us and our pets. There are 3 types of ticks. However, the 2 most common families of ticks are soft ticks and hard ticks. Soft ticks will only stay attached to a host for about a few hours, while hard ticks, the more dangerous kind, can stay attached for days. Aside from draining blood, ticks can also carry diseases, including Lyme disease. Spread by hard ticks, Lyme disease starts with target-like shaped rashes a week after a bite happens, and leads to joint pains, headaches, tiredness, difficulty to move parts of the face, heart problems, and even memory loss. To avoid ticks, it is best to wear long socks and pants when in areas with vegetation, and use repellent. Ground-dwelling birds like chickens and turkeys also eat ticks, so that's a very unorthodox way of going about it, but one nonetheless. And also remember to check yourself and your pets when you come in from outside. Squirrels are pretty cool to see outside, but not so much inside. Squirrels can and will use your attic as a nesting site if they can find a way in. As cool as it sounds to have some squirrels living in your house, it is not. They quickly smell up the place, and they are highly territorial. And additionally, they will chew on things such as cords and even spread diseases. Squirrel infestations are caused by entrances in your house, allowing them to come in and take shelter. And identifications of infestations include loud scurrying noises coming from the attic, basement, or in your walls, a strong smell, damage to internals of your house, droppings, and frequent squirrel sightings near your property. And moving on down to tier 4 of the iceberg, we have my cancellation if I mess their name up. Chiggers, yes, they're called that, are small red mites that live in low vegetation areas and feed off of the blood of animals in their larval forms, but switch to eating grass in their adult phase. Chiggers lay their eggs on leaves and plants when they hatch and burrow later in the flesh of animals, including humans, where they will feed until they reach their mature phase. Bites create red pimple-like blisters that itch. Chigger infestations can be prevented similarly to tick bites by using repellent and long-socked and legged pants. Gnats make going outside a living nightmare in rural areas, especially in the summer. Gnats, similarly to fruit flies, will find their way into your home if you leave produce about. Gnats are attracted to warm, moist areas and sweet smells, which is why they surround people going about their day. Gnats are similar, but not the same as fruit flies. However, gnats are slightly easier to infest a home as they aren't as picky, eating more forms of organic matter that fruit flies don't touch. Gnats nest in the soil of potted plants and can easily become a sanctuary for them. Infestations can be identified near identically And even the same types of traps that work on fruit flies, which one of them's like a vinegar trap, where you just leave out like a bowl of vinegar and like a paper cone and they can't escape, will work on gnats as well. Springtails are tiny, bouncy bugs that love damp areas and plenty of organic matter. So, a combination of unkept lawns and cracks in the house may attract springtails indoors. Springtails tend to gravitate towards leaky pipes, bathrooms, and indoor plants if they get in the house. Springtails are more likely to try to get into your house during dry seasons, where there isn't much moisture outside. As a way to deal with springtails is to allow the soil in your plants to dry up as much as possible without killing the plant in the process. Snake infestations are a disastrous example of one infestation leading to another. More common forms of snake infestations take place in yards, typically with unmanaged wood piles, trash, or other obstructions that give snakes refuge. As snakes are cold-blooded, they tend to look for cool places to hide when it gets too hot out for them. And combined with pre-existing mice or rat infestations, snakes will enter your home through the same holes that the other pests got in. Garter snakes, one of the more common snakes and generally seen as a good thing as they're harmless to humans if they're just in the yard or completely fine, but will overtake your house very quick and will pile up in walls, basements, and other areas of your house. Snake infestations are typically caused by pre-existing rodent infestations. However, sometimes snakes may nest in your home on their own. Infestations are identified with frequent snake sightings out or inside of your house, snake skin and eggs, and as well as a foul, unusual smell that they create. And a little bit of an aside here, I remember there was an Animal Planet show. I think it was Infested, and I remember they were talking about a house, and it was horrible. Like inside of the walls, the snakes were just slithering on top of each other. Like I could not imagine. Burn it all, burn it down. Hill bugs, also known as Roly-Polies, I'm calling them Roly-Polies, are an overall positive thing outdoors, but aren't really good or bad for your house. They don't cause structural damage or spread disease, and typically won't last long inside of your house for more than a few days, unless you have decaying plants inside for them to eat. So you should probably just put them back outside if you find them. If they show up in your house, it tends to imply that there's an overabundance of them outdoors, or there's a part of your house that is moist enough for them to use as shelter. Roly-poly infestations tend to imply a lack of predators in your yard, and typically a result of moist shaded areas in your yard, such as wood piles and underpotted plants that are put on the ground. Unlike centipede infestations, millipede infestations are a little more tame and don't tend to infest your house for food sources. Millipedes will infest your house usually when conditions outside are not suitable for them, mainly during dry seasons. Millipedes need moisture to survive, so typically areas like clogged gutters and leaky pipes are prime places for them to live. They're pretty easy to deal with, and they cannot survive without proper moisture, so removing areas in your yard, such as wood piles and yard debris, are an easy way of dealing with them, along with dealing with leaky pipes and cracks. Moths might sound like a minor inconvenience, but they actually can become a pretty big problem, especially if you care about your clothing. Moths will lay eggs in wheat and grain products, fabric from furniture, carpet, and clothing, and will eat all of these sources of food and will also flock to many light sources. Things as simple as not closing the door or window at night quick enough may make light-dazed moths gravitate towards your house. Infestations can be identified with holes in your clothing, furniture, carpet, and other animal fur products, frequent moth or maggot sightings, and dead moths around your house or inside of light bulbs. Now, trees can become a problem in your yard if you just do not manage your lawn and give them years to grow. However, I'm pretty sure this entry refers to trees getting infested. Trees are cornerstones of multiple environments, with single trees serving as homes for hundreds of animals. Tree infestations are not too uncommon. as overeating the leaves and wood from trees can cause by unchecked populations of animals. Creatures such as caterpillars, beetles, aphids, bloodworms, and moths can all destroy trees if left unchecked. When it comes to critters, trees that produce fruit are even harder to fight off, as the fruit will attract many more animals. Fungi and diseases, yes, trees get sick too, are also very deadly to trees. Identifications of infestations include eaten leaves, bare branches, webbing covering branches, mold and fungus on parts of the trees, branches rotting and falling off, and holes in the trees. Dropping on down to tier 5 of the iceberg, and here we have aphids. Aphids are one of the creatures that infests trees. Aphids are small insects that feed on a combination of trees and green crops. Fun fact, aphids can give live birth, and sometimes the babies are already pregnant, meaning 2 generations can be secured from just a single male. There are many groups of aphids that are species that feed off of the sap of certain plants, with some species feeding off of only one single plant, while others can eat hundreds of different plants. Aphids can cause harm to plants through overeating and spreading diseases and fungi to the host. Aphids can also cause harm to humans, as not only do they eat our crops, clothing, and houseplants, but they can also trigger allergic reactions. Aphid infestations often occur when soil quality dips or food sources become overcrowded. Whiteflies are small, white insects that feed from the bottom of leaves. Whiteflies are hard to manage as they thrive in conditions such as droughts, where most of their natural predators tend to die out. Whiteflies are also notorious for getting into greenhouses thanks to their tiny size, and despite them being so small, whiteflies' annual cause crop damages estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So these little guys mean business. Now, I think possums are pretty cool dudes, but possum infestations can sound and appear very scary. So long as they don't set up shop in your home or shed, they can be extremely helpful to yards and gardens, as they prey on a multitude of pests, including many that were on this iceberg, such as bugs, slugs, snakes, and rodents. Possums don't carry rabies, but you shouldn't go head patting every possum you see, as they carry multiple diseases. Most of them are very hard to pronounce, so I'm just gonna say they got tuberculosis. It's pretty easy to identify a possum infestation, as they are very loud and nocturnal, making them near impossible to not catch. And they can cause damage to the inside of your house, take food, and produce a very foul odor. Dustmites are microscopic mites that feed off of dead skin and thrive in warm environments that people frequent, aka your home. Dustmite infestations are typically the result of not cleaning furniture, clothing, and bedding, and will even live in humans to get their food straight from the source. Dust mites can cause rashes, coughing, wheezing, sneezing, congestion, runny noses, and problems involving the face, along with other allergic reactions. Now, typically when I look at an iceberg, there's typically an entry or two that stand out. This is definitely one of those. And if you want to get grossed out, check maggot infestations in Google Images. Flies create maggots, and in turn, all fly infestations will come with maggots. However, this entry refers to something way worse. Myiasis is a condition where maggots, most notably maggots from botflies, will burrow into the flesh of a host. Myiasis mostly occurs in areas of flesh that are dead or rotting, mainly open wounds, and sometimes even unbroken skin. Myiasis is common in warm areas where flies such as botflies, a fly known for using other flying insects to carry its eggs to unfortunate hosts, live. Myiasis is highly misdiagnosed, as it's actually very rare in the US and is very difficult to diagnose. However, maggots need to be dealt with immediately. Not that I needed to say that, as it is very fatal. and this entry might stick with you for a couple days. It might weird you out, but no need to really worry so long as you clean yourself and look out for unusual marks on your skin and weird pains. You should be cool. Pumpkin bugs are also known as squash bugs. I know them as squash bugs. I'm going with that. Squash bugs, as their namesake suggests, enjoy plants like squash and, as their other name suggests, pumpkins. Squash bugs are extremely harmful to crops, as on top of their diet, their saliva is toxic to plants and causes leaves to rot, starting from the bite marks. Squash bugs also will find their way into your house, especially during the winter, serving as small landmines. Crickets can be pretty harmless to people unless you tell a really bad joke, but they can be pretty startling when they start darting in all directions when you pick something up in the yard. Crickets may be attracted to houses with excessive outdoor lighting and houses with a lot of yard debris. The crickets will seek out areas of moisture built up, like underneath a cardboard box left outside, for example, and they will skedaddle from basements to other parts of your house with leaky pipes. Cricket infestations at this level aren't the worst. However, crickets can band together in swarms of millions strong and destroy crops. For example, earlier this year, a swarm of Mormon crickets took over parts of Nevada, leaving a carpet of red crickets on the ground, eating what they could. And starting us off in the final tier of the iceberg, we have tarantulas. Tarantulas are not that harmful to humans, all things considered, as their venom is pretty weak, although their bites are still relative to bee stings in terms of pain, so it's still not an idea to go messing with mega spiders. Now, you'd figure if you have a tarantula infestation, you'd have some pretty big cracks in your home or space under the door, but they can squeeze through some pretty small entrances. But these cracks would still have to be pretty noticeable. Found mostly in the American Southwest downward, tarantulas tend to seek out moisture, which in southern summers can come and go, making your home a pretty sweet place for them to wait for the rain to come. And they might change their mind and decide to stay. Despite how intimidating they are, they're actually quite fragile, as rough contact or falls can prove fatal for them. Their large size makes them a little easier to spot and relocate. However, tarantulas do not need much space to live and will form nightmare-inducing clusters. Mealybugs are small white bugs that feed off of plants. Fun fact about mealybugs is sometimes ants will provide protection in exchange for using their honeydew for food. Males and female mealbugs are drastically different body plans throughout their lives, as females tend to just get larger while males become winged mosquito-shaped bugs. Mealybugs tend to feed off of citrus plants and plants high in nitrogen, and overfertilization can attract a large number of mealies due to the abundance of nitrogen. Mealybugs also have saliva that is toxic to plants, making them bad news for farmers. Despite their name, mealworms aren't actually worms. Instead, they are larvae to much smaller beetles. Mealworms will typically find their way into silos to feast on grain until they can reach maturity. Mealworms will also find their way into your home if they find moisture. Mealworms are kind of a tragic species, as in a cruel twist of fate, the worms are often used as food sources for pets and even humans, with people eating fried mealworms as a source of protein. Which, talk about making the most of a problem, I guess. Grasshoppers are a creature that are extremely harmless on their own, yet as they swarm together, they can be extremely devastating. When there is a decline in natural predators and or in periods of drought, grasshoppers absolutely thrive, creating massive swarms every 7 to 10 years that spell disaster for crops. One type of grasshopper, the locust, has caused millions to die out due to starvation. Locust swarms wipe out crop that is used for cattle and for people alike for thousands of years, with locust plagues being put on par with floods and droughts. During the late 1950s, the Chinese government launched the Four Pests campaign in the intention of wiping out animals considered pests. One of these animals was the sparrow, a natural predator of the locust. But due to the sparrow population plummeting, grasshoppers, their natural prey, went out of control and contributed to the Great Chinese Famine, which killed upwards of 55 million people. Due to this, it is necessary to keep grasshopper populations in check. And in our last entry of the iceberg, we have biting midges. Biting midges are flies that are similar to mosquitoes. Biting midges will prey on mosquito larvae and will suck the blood from animals and humans alike. Like mosquitoes, which should be on this iceberg, I don't know why they're there, they killed the most people. Biting midges spread diseases and kill millions of people. Also, like mosquitoes, biting midges need water to lay their eggs. However, some species can develop in semi-moist areas with minimal water. So, to handle them, you'd handle them about the same as mosquitoes. So, don't let water build up in your yard. Now, there were some animals that weren't on the iceberg. I didn't make the iceberg. But anyway, we have an honorable mentions section. Raccoons, of course, you know them. They get into your trash. They might get into your attic or your shed or something. Mess stuff up. Mosquitoes, as talked about in the previous entry, they killed the most people out of, anything. Scorpions, scorpion infestations can happen, usually in, desert climates, and scorpions can be pretty dangerous, especially numbers. Birds, bird infestations, they can get into your attic, make a lot of noise, and you don't want them dying there. They'll smell really bad. Poison oak. We talked about poison ivy, so might as well talk about its nephew, poison oak. Pretty similar. Lizards. Lizards can get into cracks on your, in warm areas and get into cracks in the concrete and stuff like that. Kudzu vines are a species of plant that it's an invasive species, and they're all over the south, basically. There's these big vines that just grow over entire trees, and they can destroy entire forests. Crabgrass is a type of weed that you may see in your yard. It branches out and spreads very fast. Back swimmers can infest your pool. They're the little bugs in the pool that do the little kicking thing. They look like they're swimming. Groundhogs can put holes in your yard and dig in under the foundation of your house. So I feel groundhogs and prairie dogs and stuff like that should be on here. And of course, I didn't notice any fungus species, but fungi can infest your yard in the form of many mushrooms, and we talked about them a little in the tree infestations. So that's it for the honorable mentions. If you got any more animals that should have been on here, go ahead and leave a comment below. And that is going to go ahead and do it for the Infestations Iceberg. I thought this was a kind of neat topic that no one really covered. Infestations, that's something that I'm pretty sure everyone deals with at some point. Be it as something as simple as an ant, like a mouse in your house. Hopefully not a snake infestation. That'd be horrible. Like a snake coming out and going by you when you're going to the laundry. But yeah, I'd like to say thank you for clicking through this topic, seeing what a lot of these infestations were like. And my God, I gotta give thanks for the big blow up the channel got from the Plausible Cryptids iceberg. I thought uploading it all at once the way I did, probably would have compromised it in terms of views and all that, but it did it amazing. And I'm very grateful for all the views and the subscribers that it gave. So, yeah, I really want to cover icebergs that aren't typically covered. Kind of like this. I haven't found any videos on this. Plausible Cryptids iceberg, weren't anything on that. So, I'd like to kind of cover more obscure icebergs, but I'm not opposed to doing more mainstream stuff. I just feel if I can't bring anything to the table that, someone else already has, it's like, what's the point? But, yeah, I'd like to say thank you for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, because I ain't going nowhere, baby. We're going to go ahead and make more icebergs. I got some more icebergs here. If you have any suggestions on icebergs, go ahead and leave a comment below. Comment what you want me to cover, like any other icebergs out there you might want me to cover. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you all very much, and have yourself a damn good one.